Who's been messing up everything?
It's been Agatha all along. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 6 of the Marveled podcast. We're super excited to be here because the last episode of Wandavision acts. My God, dude, was that a masterpiece or not?
Dude, actually incredible. Every single week, we're going to say it over and over and over again. I'm sure the finale, we're going to say the exact same thing. What a freaking episode, man. So good.
Oh, man, that had some of the best visuals of any TV I've ever seen. It had some of the most, I don't know, man. It was just so friggin' good. So many revelations, too, including retconning and changing, or at least adding to Scarlet Witch's origin story. We got double vision, which you talked about in a previous video, which is, whew, that's gonna be absolutely insane. But yeah, we're gonna talk about everything.
Hype.
So hyped, dude. So hyped. That deserves a hype train. We're going to talk about everything here in the podcast today. I'm, of course, Kyle, the Fandalorian, or Fandovision for today from Fandom Media. This is, of course, Hax Dogma or Hex Dogma. Or is it Hex Dogma or Hax Dogma? You changed it back?
Yeah, the people upstairs got back to me and said, hey, don't know who you are.
And we are, of course, co-hosts of the Marvel podcast, which you're watching right now. We're going to break down everything, recap everything, talk about theories, Easter eggs. For the first part of what we're going to be doing today, the first hour, we'll talk about WandaVision, the review. And then for the last 30 minutes or so, we'll do a questions, comments, open kind of discussion. Yeah. And we got a nice little announcement, surprise for Thursday for you guys, considering the WandaVision finale is on Friday. We have a special guest coming on, a very, very special guest that will be coming on to discuss some WandaVision with us. So yeah, chat. I see that most of the people put in chat that it was a masterpiece. We'll do it again since more people are joining. 1 for masterpiece, 2 for not. But yeah, like overall impressions of the episode, Hacks. This was our longest episode so far. We talked about last week how we thought that we were going to be getting a flashback to Agatha's perspective and maybe even going all the way back into the Salem witch trials, which we got, which was just spectacular. And then we got to go through all the different doors to her traumas and yeah, another post-credit scene. So initial thoughts, my man.
Yeah, so I probably cried more than anybody else. And yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, like, man, there was times where it was just like the buildup and the emotion behind it was just so good. And understanding like why Wanda did what she did, you know, even to the point of enslaving all of Westview, like I now can empathize with her character and understand like how she could become that person and how she could do that. And, you know, ultimately, you know, I was wrong about her being like the trap or the conduit to the creation of this world. But, you know, even still, like having her be the person that made this possible, you know, maybe even not, you know, through her own conscious means, but just as a, you know, Shakespearean tragedy, right? Just like so good. The moment when they are watching TV together and learning that that's why the sitcoms exist and learning that, you know, that's why her accent comes and goes and just this, you know, emotional, like self-sabotage and, you know, self-suppression of who she is. And like, it is just so emotional. And then as soon as you, like, you know, the bomb's going to hit, you know, the entire time the bomb's going to hit. And then they still manage to make it like this dramatic thing. Like the flashback scenes throughout the entire thing were just so incredible. And yeah, man, I was teary-eyed.
And that's the moment where we find out that she wove a probability hex.
Yes.
That
Crazy.
Crazy, right? Like in her, let's jump into this right now, actually, because it's so interesting. Yeah. You know, when we have the Marvel comics, and there's so many different versions of origin stories. Of course, there's different artists who author these different stories within the Marvel universe. But you know, I think the most kind of significant story for Wanda is that she was a mutant. You know, she's Magneto's daughter. But her origin story is far deeper than that, man. Let's talk a little bit about that because her and Pietro lived on this place called Wundagore Mountain in Transia, which is in Eastern Europe, very much like Sokovia. We know that, obviously the Marvel Cinematic Universe switches things up, which we had, obviously she got her magic from the Mind Stone and Loki's scepter and being experimented on by Baron von Strucker. But now they just chose to retcon it, my man. What they did was they showed us the scene where she gets exposed to the magic of the Mind Stone, this extreme power of an Infinity Stone. She doesn't die. Okay, all the other test subjects die. And we find out she sees her future self, which was probably the coolest shot of the episode, her frigging descending in her iconic Scarlet Witch costume, which we're going to probably see in the next episode. But even more so, Agatha is taking her through these moments, and we find out she says not only one, but two things that are very interesting. One, she calls Wanda an orphan, which we're going to have to discuss if perhaps those aren't her real parents, okay? And then two, she wove a probability hex, which means that she had special magical abilities since a very young age. So the MCU has its own origin stories for its characters, but now we're left with this bombshell. Boom. New Scarlet Witch origin for the MCU.
Dude, I thought you were making a pun, like boom, bombshell, like in reference to her
Was
parents.
I
was like, whoa, too dark.
Well done, Kyle.
Yeah, so I don't interpret the orphan line as like I interpret it as like the bombshell orphaned them as a collective. I feel like they have named her parents multiple times now, and that was something that like when they showed it on the TV and them in Sword discussing like Oleg and Irene, something like that. The parents, essentially, it felt weird that they were named, and I was like, oh, okay. But now that like we're seeing that, and I think that makes more sense that is, why they were named. I think that it's probably their real parents, but it does open this possibility of this, magic transcendence or lineage down familiar means. And I think it would be interesting if they weren't the real parents, but I also think that they could probably just keep it the way it was, because the other thing that we have to consider is, why Pietro wasn't killed by the stone as well, right? Like, I think
Hydra points to Sokovia that we didn't, like in the comics with Wundagore Mountain hacks, which was the point I was getting to. Wundagore Mountain in like the 6th or 5th century, there's an elder god named Chthon, who literally went into a cavern within Wundagore Mountain called the Darkhold, Darque hold. Okay, as in a hold, as in like this kind of area where you can make your lair. But he wrote the Darkhold in that mountain. Okay, which makes me think that maybe Hydra knew something about Sokovia's landscape that we didn't, which would explain why Agatha has that book in her basement, perhaps, because we've been thinking that it was perhaps she was, maybe in line with Mephisto. We saw the devil imagery in Agatha's basement. We saw there's still a possibility that could be Nightmare, because Doctor Strange is more than likely going to show up in the next episode. We're going to talk about that. But now we have this other possibility of this Chthon character who shares a strong connection to Scarlet Witch's origin story. Yeah,
I think the call out of chaos magic, is a big indicator that Chthon is going to be there, right? And I think that ultimately what Disney is doing is they're classifying and colorizing their magic system, right? In this episode we see blue good, purple bad, red very bad, but then also done by a good person that we like. And
we have the yellow magic of the Ancient One, and Doctor Strange, and and all of those people use within there.
Yep, that is my point. And so in Doctor Strange, like they describe it as drawing power from these other dimensions, not drawing power, because like in the comics, like Doctor Strange, pulls power from these gods and these like mythical beings that lend him their power. So in theoretics, Doctor Strange could be the most powerful being in the universe if these gods and if these mystical beings gave them 100% of their power collectively. So what I think they're doing is, as they described it in Doctor Strange, they're pulling these powers from other dimensions. I think they're going to integrate these two, right? To where, it's the same thing essentially. What Wanda's doing is pulling power from not the dark dimension, which would be, Dormammu, which I think Agatha could be doing, and I think that could have been the reason that she was exiled. But Chthon with his dimension or his power, like pulling it from him, or he imbued it upon her, unknowing to her.
It's crazy because he has connections all the way to like 19,000 years pre-Atlantis, before the Cataclysmic Age, which is so interesting because we got to see Agatha's mother, who was named Evanora Harkness for the MCU version of what we saw. But in the comics, her name is Zedra Na. And she actually foresaw the cataclysm that would happen to Atlantis, and she actually got banished. So it's possible that, Agatha stole some sort of, could be the Tome of Zedra Na, which is has Atlantean magic, which is very, very strong magic, like early on in Earth, our realm. Which makes it more interesting. Those runes that we saw was I'm considering that they're probably more from the dark realm or whatever is connected to the Darkhold. Those symbols seem to be connected. They were glowing purple, so and they were within hexes. So my guess is that Agatha learned those runes to keep Wanda busy, because we saw that Wanda couldn't use her mind control magic on her when her eyes were lighting up red and all of that. So it's so interesting to see them this was a crazy deep lore episode. Like, we heard directly from Agatha's mother that she went and sought out something beyond what she was being taught, and someone granted that wish for her. And I think that they got to show that in the conclusion of WandaVision. Like, they got to give us an answer, I'm assuming. Or at least a piece that will connect to Doctor Strange too. Like, they're going to be hinting at something at least, I think.
Yeah, I think they definitely will. And I think, like, Doctor Strange, because an important line of this episode was, she sensed the afterglow of so many powerful spells before her, right? So like, why would Strange not already be there? Why would he not be there ready to go? And the other thing about the perception or the sensing of this town is that's something that we know Jimmy did, right? Jimmy was on his way into town and stopped his car, turned it around, got out, and then was like, something's wrong with this place, right? And that always felt like such a weird thing to me. Like, who would do that? But I think it could be hinting that Jimmy might be, have some kind of ability, in the sense that he could sense this place similar to how Agatha could. But I don't know. I would like to see Jimmy as a bigger character, but maybe that's just me.
There's a really cool theory floating around. You talked about the after credits where we see all the pixelation and the flowers and the House of M reference and all of that. We see that red flower, right? Like, one thing I think that was a cool piece of foreshadowing that we talked about a little bit on the previous podcast was those purple flowers in the vines. Like, that could somehow be connected to, obviously, Agatha's magic is purple, necromancy. Like, she drained the good blue magic, the life essence out of this witch's coven that was connected to her mom, right? But so Agatha has these purple flowers that are, when Monica finds the bunker, there's these purple flowers that are around there connected to the vine. So that's kind of weird, right? And then we see in Wanda's yard, she has red flowers. So that's, they're like red, purple flowers, whatever color you want to call them, which is connected to the chaos magic, kind of, illuminating that she's the one creating the hex. And then we have this Dottie character, okay? And she's gardening. And she had a bigger role earlier on in the season, but a smaller one over the past few episodes. And she has a shirt with red flowers on it, which is, probably just whatever garb she was wearing in the hex transformed by that, whatever. That's just imagery of that. But she is snipping yellow flowers, which makes me think that she could be perhaps an agent of the Squadron Supreme and in line with Doctor Strange. Because we got to remember, Hats, we talked about her early on. Agatha pointed her out and singled her out in a way that I I found was pretty interesting. Now, we're in disagreement about this because we had a private conversation. You think that she could be in league with Agatha in her like coven. I think that she's Arcana or Clea, someone that is in alignment with more of the Squadron Supreme Doctor Strange part of things. So your thoughts on that? Because we haven't, like, she wasn't. I mean, when Wanda was driving through to Westview, she wasn't someone that we saw like the mailman or, the Hearts that we saw have, dinner with Wanda and Vision.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's entirely possible that that she is with the Masters of the Mystic Arts, right? In the sense that a big storyline or a big storyline point in terms of Doctor Strange's relation to chaos magic is that, he didn't believe that it exists, right? Like it was a myth, like similar to how Agatha, this episode was like, oh my God, this is, you're that person. So I think that, yes, that could be the case, that Dottie is more than she's letting on to be. If they bring up this idea that Doctor Strange isn't there because she's there, right? Like she is the scout ahead, or going to make sure everything's all right.
Agatha did say she was the key to everything that's happening.
Yeah,
which I felt like, because Agatha was like manipulating Wanda, and we found that out later. That kind of felt like a tell to me in that Wanda should watch out for Dottie, and that maybe that Dottie could help Wanda in some sort of way. So she tried to keep her away from Wanda. That's kind of the vibe that, I don't know, I got from the situation. After of course, it was revealed that Agatha was, kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I think, like, I posted a screenshot on Twitter that showed her with a mole on her collarbone, I think. And then Agatha sitting, of course, right behind her. So it's possible. It's very possible that she is a bigger character. I don't know if they would actually introduce another character right now. I think that they're probably going to be like a big save the day character, Doctor Strange, or somebody that we're familiar with, going against Vision and Vision number 2, and I don't know.
Ultron.
If all of the if the town is just filled with witches, I'm just gonna be like, damn, like, what are you guys doing, right? Like act, do something right now. Like, yeah.
Now there's rumors that the finale is only going to be 48 minutes, which would kind of put a hamper on seeing all of these different things that need to be getting resolved. Of course, we think that some things won't be resolved, as we know that Wanda's going to be in Multiverse of Madness and all of that. But I mean, I don't know, man. Monica's going to do something crazy because she's ultra powerful now that she's got her photon spectrum powers. Like, she could be the one to kill the other Vision, I think, possibly, because it looks like they had a promotional photo where there's Billy, Tommy, and also Vision, the one that she created within the Hex. They're all standing off against someone. So that's kind of a little bit of a spoiler in a sense that we see Agatha controlling Billy and Tommy on like they're like dogs on a leash, man, which is like, I mean, she already killed Sparky, but now she's treating Wanda's kids within the Hex like dogs. Come on, man.
Yeah, I think what did you think of the scene where like her, like the magic was just like ropes around their necks? I don't know why, but I watched it and I was just like, it feels like kind of cheesy. Like, couldn't she just be like on the ground and then like on their knees or something? Like, the fact that she was floating didn't really add that much to the scene. It was just like the dramatic effect of like, you are the Scarlet Witch, and and I'm floating.
I don't know, man. It was I mean, I loved to see her costume. It was great that we saw we saw earlier on in the episode with the Salem witch trial stuff. She stole the brooch from her mom, which was cool, which is a tie back to Agatha's kind of original costume.
Yeah, let's talk about that too. In that first scene, the very first scene of the episode, we see Salem, we see the witches, we see, the narrative is shaped that she is like pursuing this black magic, and I think it could still relate to the Dark Dimension and Dormammu, but like, she is pleading, she is crying, trying not to be killed right now. And they keep saying, yeah, we're going to kill you. And she's like, no, I can learn. I can be good. I want to be better. And they're like, no, we're going to kill you. And then she kills all the other witches because they keep attacking her and she drains their power. and then her mother is like, now I'm going to do the same thing again, but with a crown. And shockingly, it doesn't work, right? But the whole time, I'm like, man, maybe Agatha's not a bad guy, right? Like maybe Agatha has just gotten a very bad hand, similar to how Wanda has gotten a very bad hand, you know? And I think that opens up this like empathy route that Agatha may not be the bad guy after all, you know, and it could be more of the teacherly role that she comes to in the comics.
Yeah, because she's more of an anti-hero in the comics as opposed to like a more like chaotic evil, which we're like alignment. I have to disagree.
Neutral, yeah.
Chaotic, yeah. So you're arguing chaotic neutral. I'm arguing chaotic evil. I think that here's the thing though, man. Like when after she's begging that, like I found the way that she was asking, like the way she was asking was, and then we see her look. Like her look is like insidious, dude. I don't know, man. I feel
like
it
was all manipulation. Like
for sure, 100%. Because like she killed them pretty easily, dude. I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they wanted the heat, bro. They wanted it. Like
but
she kept saying like, no, don't do this. I will destroy you guys. And then as they're being destroyed, she's just
the second that she gets released, dude, she's probably slaughtering all of them, though. You know what I mean? Like or she's doing something. I don't feel like that situation's. I don't know, man.
Maybe what I saw was her being tied to a stake. Their punk ass magic failing them, and then her superior dark magic, which again lines to Dormammu in the plot of Doctor Strange. Beating their punk magic.
Okay, Chris, let's ask the chat a question. Maybe they can help resolve our dispute here. Let's ask chat, yes or no. Was the whatever transgression that Agatha had was obviously pretty egregious.
Yeah, but what could she have done? What could she have done? Right?
It must have been really bad, like seeking out a dark elder god for magic.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So, like Dormammu, right? I forget his name. In Doctor Strange is Caecilius, I think. But essentially, the main antagonist of Doctor Strange, outside of Dormammu. But he's like, but that was the whole thing. Like he was pursuing magic that was above his pay grade, because he realized the Ancient One was pursuing magic above her pay grade. Well, we know the Ancient One was able to harness this dark ass magic while still being the pinnacle of a good girl. Like it is entirely possible that she could not have, or that she wouldn't have become this like omega bad guy.
Agatha, good girl. Come on.
Ancient one, good girl.
Yeah. Okay, chat. There's a bunch of you watching. Let's one, Agatha good, her intentions, two, negative, bad. Okay, I want to see how many people think that her intentions could have been good or her intentions could have been bad. I don't.
Well, I mean, like, so here's the thing. I want to make sure that it's clear that I'm not saying that she's going to be a good character. I think there's way too little time to say, oh nope, I was actually I was testing you the whole time or something like that. I think it's probably more likely that she's just going to be the big bad. With that in mind, I'm saying that there is definite room that her path could have been shaped differently to not turn her into this big bad, I mean, I don't care. Agatha all along, I'm with it.
I don't know, man. Just obviously there's some sort of family dispute there. We know that family disputes are a major thing within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they're more complex than just someone disagreeing about something with someone. But I feel like we're going to get an answer to this question in episode 8. You know what I mean? Like they've done all this build up for Agatha now, right? I mean, I think that they have to show whoever she's aligned with. Are you of the belief that we're going to see that person in episode 9? Like I feel like there's going to be. I think someone taught her how to do this.
So. So someone taught her how to do this. I genuinely think that she just like killed the Coven and then ran with it, right? Like she had access to all the archives, scrolls and books and all of that, and then just like kept teaching herself. And I also think, again, and I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's so relevant, but it also could relate to the Ancient One, because we know that book on the table was a Celtic tree, and the Ancient One has Celtic upbringing. Like I have made this headcanon that Agatha and the Ancient One had just like centuries ago, this coming together at some point. They cross paths, and ultimately both of them learned. Like, and then that could be exactly where the Ancient One gets her dark roots from.
The one thing I find interesting about this situation, Hacks, is that in the comics, in the Salem witch trials, she was in the opposite position that her mother was in. She was rounding up the witches, and whoever she considered was weak, she was the one persecuting them.
Yeah, she would out them to the town and be like, hey, if you can, and basically that, like, if you could survive the burning at the stake, then yeah, you could join the coven. I thought that was amazing. But here's the thing, like, that could still be happening, right? In the sense of like what Wanda's going through, and that like trial by fire, like, the hardest way to teach someone kind of thing. Like, there's still a very narrow route for Agatha to be more complex than she is right now. Not that she's not already complex, but just like an extra layer at the very, final moments here, in the sense that she could just be testing Wanda.
I think I would agree with you if we didn't see the Darkhold and the devil-like imagery and the manipulation of Wanda. Like, I still think we got to see, like, we saw I think most of what we're going to see with flashbacks, but I don't know, maybe Agatha doesn't survive the finale. I'm kind of, tossing between the idea of yes and no. Like, I can't really decide if I think she's going to die or not. It's possible. I mean, Billy and Tommy are in trouble, and if Wanda has to kill her to get Billy and Tommy back, I think she will do it. But also at the same time, I think that we could see a situation where like Agatha is arrested or something like that. You know what I mean? Where have someone like Doctor Strange or someone that's super powerful, like kind of come into the situation. Like, because if Doctor Strange shows up, like he's gonna try to solve the problem, I think. And I think that at this point, like, we see how powerful Wanda is, but I think that Doctor Strange is like kind of the one perfect person for this situation. You know what I mean? Maybe with the help of Monica, he can solve it or something like that. But yeah, it is. I'm kind of undecided on what's going to happen with that, considering we also get White Vision from the Vision Quest storyline. Like like with Hayward's intention, like he's gonna be more like Ultron than Vision, right? So that's going to be another scenario we have to stare down.
Yeah, I mean, possibly, right? But I think it is very possible, and everybody, I don't know why, but everybody jumped to this like, oh, it's Ultron, conclusion. But like, he is still very much, the shell of what he was still very much a combination of Ultron, Jarvis. Like, at the end of that wasn't Ultron's code. That was an amalgamation of all of the codes and all of the combination of the efforts of Bruce Banner, Helen Cho, Tony Stark, like, and then at the top of it, Thor's lightning, right? Like, just to add a little more mystery. So it's very possible that he's not explicitly Ultron. And of course I don't think he will be, but
it could be that Hayward is just some guy that really, really wants to protect Earth, but he broke the Sokovia Accords and he also violated Vision's will, which, makes us think about his intentions even more. It's like, oh, okay, like he lied about Wanda coming to get her body. Like, that was just like he just lied about it, straight up lied about it. We saw that she had that really fucking sad moment where she said, I can't feel you. She went and did the Hex thing after that. You know what I mean? So he's twisted this version of what happened into a different set of events completely.
Yeah. I mean, like the Sentinel theory, like he's probably not nanotech right now, but like, like I think he is using this to create Sentinels, and Sentinels may be a good integration to the X-Men. And ultimately, like, we could see an army of White Vision. We could see any number of things. But ultimately I think like it's this artificial intelligence, but a hindered artificial intelligence that, ultimately, because it has to be, right? Because we know the Sokovia Accords, you say they can't create life again. Like, they can't create artificial intelligence in any form right now, which could be a downside of the Sokovia Accords in the future. But ultimately, my point is that I think that yes, it is kind of Ultron, but there's still good parts of him. It would be really cool to see like that Vision be the one that survives, and just like that be what we know Vision as from now on.
Well, there's a possibility that she could perhaps remake Vision, like with the Vision we
Yeah.
see within the hexes. She basically recreates Vision with the knowledge that she had of the Mind Stone within the friggin' hex. Man, that was insane.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on a possible plot hole? Because I haven't figured out my thoughts yet. But essentially, the issue that they've created for themselves is that they show that Hayward was tracking Vision by the vibranium decay.
Yes.
We know that he was now created by the thoughts of Wanda, and we know that it can't leave. So it's probably not vibranium, right?
So
Because
the vibranium like you're thinking of when he leaves the hex, we see him decay and kind of dematerialize.
Yeah.
In essence. So your question is around that, you think? Like
Sorry. So if it was real vibranium, then it probably could have left the hex, because we saw that the Kevlar vest could leave the hex as a transmuted, version of itself. So if Vision was genuinely made of vibranium, thus being able to be tracked, he should have been able to leave without disintegrating, right?
Imagine if Wanda was that powerful to be able to create vibranium within the hex, and that's what they're searching for.
I think it would be possible, right?
Woo.
I don't know why it wouldn't be possible. She could literally alter universes, right? So, I think at some point in her training that could be possible, but but yeah, I don't know.
Oh man.
I feel like it could be a plot hole, but at the same time, maybe we just don't talk about it.
That deserves a hype train. Wanda creating a vibranium Vision within the hex. I mean, it's possible. Look at how much she's created already, right? I mean, Jesus, wow. That actually blows my mind. That kind of lends to the question of, is Vision going to survive though? I have Vision and Vision are fighting. They're going to fight, right?
They will definitely fight. I think they will definitely fight.
That'll be crazy, dude.
But here's the thing: what if they don't? What if they just oh, I am a sentient being. Oh, you are a sentient being. Oh, yeah. It's honestly,
and their fingers touch in the Westworld creation of androids.
Yeah. And then to top it all off, they have a Dragon Ball Z. Oh my God, what is it called? Where they create go tanks.
Yeah. Wait. Let's do it. Do it.
There it is.
For anybody though,
Supervision, Vision Bowl. Yes. Well done.
That was really funny. I don't know if anybody has seen Dragon Ball Z, but what we just did, the kind of they merge into one person.
Has a very specific
fusion.
Fusion. Yes.
Fusion mode, because Vegeta and Goku and Gohan and all of that.
Also hype.
Let's Boston has an interesting. Let's bring this up while we're chatting here. I think Hayward is pulling strings still, and Agatha may have been sent by Doctor Strange, but likely are Mephisto. I mean, I don't know, man. There's got to be a little bit more to Hayward here. Is Hayward just Hayward? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm really trying to believe he's just Hayward, but it's so hard for me to do that with the possibility of Skrulls and all of the, someone that's maybe even working with Agatha. We don't know. We still don't know, right?
Yeah. And ultimately, in this episode, we learned that Hayward lied. We learned that he was manipulating her from before anybody else in this series was, in the sense that hey, yes, this is Vision. You can look at his dead body. This is all we can do for you. And of course, he had the body dismantled into 1,000 pieces. And to show Wanda hey, this isn't this isn't anything that you can control. This is ours. This is property, right? And that's the biggest thing. This is an object to him, whereas that is a person to her. And a lot of Westworld vibes there too.
Yeah,
but I think that it does show that he is manipulating her from the very beginning. And it kind of feels like he is just agitating to cause this effect, right? So
he's antagonizing her for sure, man.
100%. Because we know what White Vision looks like at that stage. There's no reason that he should have been sprawled out on the table, right? they got it. They already rebuilt this other thing, so it feels like just this most manipulative thing humanly possible. So ultimately I thought that this was going to be the episode that proves that, hey, Hayward all along. And that might still be
right?
yeah.
I still think there's going to be another all along in the finale. You know what I mean? Like there's going to
yeah, and ultimately, like it might still be the case, right? Because we see the thing that actually broke her was seeing Vision's, property, seeing this like inconspicuous life in the middle of nowhere, just able to have that American dream that she's always wanted. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a beautiful thought, and it broke her, right? So ultimately we have to figure out if that was something that Hayward knew would happen, and that ultimately be the reason that he antagonized her.
Because it does feel, I mean, we don't know Agatha's intentions, her true intentions yet. We know that she's interested in seeing the origin story of how Wanda becomes the Scarlet Witch, which is another iconic moment. She calls her the Scarlet Witch, which, we talked a little bit about the association of colors to different types of magic that we're seeing. So that was maybe there's some sort of prophecy about the Scarlet Witch, because obviously Wanda sees herself from the future, which that was one of the most fucking awesome scenes. I think that was one of the most awesome scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's history. Like that was just fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And I think you're right.
The music too was like, oh my god.
Same with the music in the missile crash scene. Like, as soon as it started playing, I knew it was going to happen, and I just, dude, so good. The Scarlet Witch, I think, definitely has to be something that they address, like the origin of where she learned that name from. And ultimately, I think it could show us seeing more of her upbringing, or training, or reaching out to whatever god that she reaches out to, or dimension that she reaches out to. I'm in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Scarlet Witch, probably something we'll cover as to how she knew.
Tinkerbell brings up an interesting point. Where is it? The comment here. Doctor Strange and his mages do circles with kind of patterns within them, but Agatha does hexagons. It's pretty interesting. We should note that hexagons are where Doctor Strange learns. We see all of the Ancient One's library, and there's one missing from her collection, which we think could possibly be the Darkhold. This could be that's like a holding area, right? Like it's like hexagons can also be prisons. Like that book was being held by that hexagon that had some sort of rune that was keeping it in place from screwing up whatever magic was effectively keeping it in place.
Yeah, and so there's a geometric call out to the different kinds of magic, and ultimately they could go the route of like what Wanda and what Agatha are doing is witchcraft, whereas what Doctor Strange is doing is sorcery. Ultimately, I think they're going to be one and the same. I think that what Disney's doing is like creating this uniformity of a magic system where we see they are all reaching out to different dimensions or different beings to gain this strength and to do these spells. So ultimately, I think that yes, it is important that they're different shapes, but at the same time, like in Doctor Strange, their magic takes a lot of shapes. A whole lot, and it's not even color coded magic. Like the bad guys are using like invisible dimensional spears, right? So there's a lot to explore there, but ultimately I think like what they're doing is creating this uniformity, and it could even apply to like Wakanda and Thor and all of the magic, right? Because we know Thor's mother was raised by witches. We know that like they have magic, they can imbue weapons, they can do all of these things that are very similar to what Doctor Strange can do, in terms of the outcome. And so I think that, yeah, it's all the same thing. And like the Wakanda realm, I forget the name of it now, but the spirit realm of Wakanda, like could just be like the transitional plane, right? Could just be like the dimension between dimensions if you worship those gods.
The soul realm.
So yeah, the soul realm. I think it's like the Djami, I think. DJ.
They're going to be doing a Wakanda show on Disney Plus, by the way. So that'll be That'll have
Man,
so much great mythology and lore in it, man. That'll be free. And the director of Black Panther 1 will be doing the show.
Nice. Ryan Coogler?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Cool. Yeah. Man, I tell you what, Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. Every time I see him, I just rewatched Civil War. Just so good, man. So sad. What a tragic
oh man.
thing.
Yeah, he did so much, man. Like by the way, for those of you that don't know, while he had cancer, he was going to visit kids in like that were dying of like terminally ill and shit like that. Like that's courage, man. So Chadwick, we miss you, brother. Yeah, we'll definitely do an episode where we'll talk about the possibilities of what happened in Black Panther 2.
Yeah,
dude, let's start going through some of these other scenes. Of course, we see through door number 1, we talked about a little bit earlier, the Bewitched, the Dick Van Dyke Show. We see Who's the Boss, one of my favorite sitcoms that I watched growing up. We see Malcolm in the Middle. Her father comes, and then that's where she learned to love these sitcoms. We see kind of these kind of Cold War vibes going on, because obviously outside in Sokovia there was some military operation going down, and we could probably chalk that up to maybe even Hydra was there even earlier than we think. There's kind of conflicts that were going on in Eastern Europe, you know what I mean? Because Hydra has been around for a long time, so we don't necessarily know 100% what was going down there. We know that there was some sort of conflict, some sort of war going down, because the Stark missile was there. But yeah, it's just we're really like just so cool to kind of see that influence. Then behind and then we obviously see the probability hacks, which we talked about earlier. Then we see the experimentation with Baron von Strucker and whatnot, and that was a really great scene. Of course, the intimate moment after Age of Ultron, though, seeing what Darcy talked about in the last episode, like that Vision and Wanda's love was true, like it was this real thing. And I think that's part of kind of what I want to get to right now, in that we're going to see the stark contrast of like some of what the Mind Stone, like it literally breathed life into Vision, man. Like the personality traits of Vision, like that was real. Like those like his curiosity, his love for Wanda, like his genuine kind of love for life. Those things were unique to Vision, and the other Vision we're going to see, he's going to be completely devoid of that. And I think that's really gonna hurt Wanda even more, man. Like she was just 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks before all of this happened, she lost Vision. Like, my God, for her to have to go through killing Vision again or some shit. My God.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that, and there's an interesting idea behind, what Vision, the good Vision that we have seen this whole time, like what he truly is, right? Because like he was created through the lens of Wanda, right? So, if he is that super powerful sentient robot that can understand all the facets of this, like I think there's a good point where he could never truly trust if what he is a true aspect of what he should be, or if he was simply created from Wanda's thoughts, and as such like would always have the conclusion of liking Wanda, taking away from his agency to decide if he wanted to be with Wanda. So I think that is an incredibly hard choice to figure out, and ultimately might lead to the reason that we don't see him anymore, and that could mean his death. And there's another cool aspect of this with White Vision, where in the comics they have this moment where he's talking once again to Wanda and the two children, and it's like, I'm not your, I don't have the same emotions. I'm not the same person. I'm not this thing that you think that I am. I do not love you like you say that I do. And it was just like, and her like protecting the kid, screaming that he was a monster. Like, oh, dude, it was just like, oh man.
Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit, because you piqued my interest here. Let's bring these kind of two subjects together. Billy and Tommy were created within the Hex. I think there's a stronger chance that they survived than Vision.
Well, I think that.
What do you think about that?
Yes, I think there's a much stronger possibility that they survive. At the same time, I don't know if I want them to survive. You
want them to go the House of M route, where she gets taken away and like she just goes completely, like she just loses it?
Yeah, I mean, like, I want her to realize her trauma. I want her to understand her truth, and that truth being that I don't have kids. that and to maybe take the kids away herself, right? You know, there's so much emphasis on them being real and them being like manifestations of her, but Vision was also a manifestation of her. As such, why would he be able to exist when, or I'm sorry, why would they be able to exist when he couldn't? So, but at the same time, if they went into that basement, which we think that they did,
are they Nexus beings is the question.
Yes,
like Wanda,
but also like we know that because of the aspect ratio change, that is indicating the real world, like a bridge in between the hex and the real world there, probably, or just another way to get in safely. And well, actually, maybe not. Maybe that's not at all what it was. Maybe it's simply that the runic power of that that she put up there to suppress Wanda's magic also applied to the spells already in existence. So maybe when the children entered, it wasn't that they were leaving the barrier of the world. It was more just their powers were being suppressed as well.
And Wiccan has similar powers to her. Like she's like, but he's basically got the same powers there. I think there's a strong possibility that they survive. I think, but I could see the House of M plotline like. I know everybody's kind of memeing on the Mephisto stuff, shitting on it on the internet right now. Oh, your Mephisto theories are dead. But they were created from shards of Mephisto's soul, and we had all that, of course, imagery of the devil down there. We had the cicada, which is similar to the first appearance of Mephisto within the comics when he appeared as a fly, and just the devil is in the details and that kind of thing. I'm still not discounting it because we do see Loki in the Loki trailer. Mephisto in that stained glass window, but Mephisto could be this like bigger overarching villain, like it could be someone smaller, like a nightmare. You know what I mean? Like I think Mephisto would be like the Phase 4 end boss type deal. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I feel like they're gonna combine them, like Mephisto and Nightmare and all of these things, like to ultimately be the same thing, like not to be something outside of Dormammu, but similar to Dormammu in the sense that it's like this celestial level event. Like it's a massive thing that they have to figure out how they go against. Honestly, I'm pretty excited for Doctor Strange because like now that he doesn't have the time stone, what are they doing, man? Like they're done, right? Like so how they get out of that is going to be interesting. And ultimately, like the reason that Wiccan could survive is because there are group spells that Wanda, Wiccan and Doctor Strange performed together in the comics, among other very powerful heroes. And I think it's called like the group spell of dimensional reversal. And ultimately it was used to like beat this like giant celestial destroyer that was coming to end all the multiverse. So essentially my point is there is still room for Wiccan and maybe Speed in the story, but at the same time, like, dude, Speed is just broken. Like Quicksilver is busted. Like, if I could have any ability, I
feel like Young Avengers is the thing they would do in like maybe Phase 5. It seems like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're going to see. Maybe we can see Wiccan and Speed pop up in the future again. They are planting seeds for things in the future. Like we didn't think we were going to get the level of detail and mythology and lore that we thought we were going to get in WandaVision, and that's why we've been so frigging obsessed with talking about it, man. But yeah, like it's just been absolutely fantastic so far. Dude, we got a donation.
Ew.
Oh, Valley of Plenty. Oh, toss a coin to your YouTuber. Thank you very much. Let's answer the question there, Hacks. The Purple Lord Leo Anansi says, coming in late, aware of White Vision, but am still mostly convinced it's Ultron. All the Mephisto hate is childish. Who knows?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Mephisto turned into a meme, just like unexpectedly. Like no one expected to be Mephisto, but like there's. I mean,
some of the biggest creators were talking about these series, like heavy spoilers and all these. Yeah.
I mean, there's a genuine chance that it's still him, but. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really care. Like, people are gonna anyone that gets upset about their theories not being wrong, or like to the point where they mock other theories as like, it's funny, right? Like, ooh, Mephisto, like, and I think ultimately that's the reason that the cicada was eaten, right? Like, is that like we all thought, a good majority of us thought like Mephisto was above Agatha, just like feeding her, using her as a puppet herself. But she just throws the bug away into the mouths of her rabbit like it's nothing. And ultimately, like when she did the mind control over the cicada as well. Ooh, I was like, okay,
something that we could see hacks is Mephisto is going to be interacting with the Time Variance Authority, and we're going to be doing some Loki. We're going to be covering Loki, okay, on the Marvel podcast here. So one thing that is still possible is that Loki is the one that interacts with Mephisto, considering they got similar personality traits.
Yes.
Okay, so that is something that we could still see, and I would be interested to see Loki pop up in WandaVision. That's too many cameos, I think, that will happen, but that would be kind of mind-blowing if it did happen.
What we haven't talked about in relation to White Vision is Paul Bettany, the god, decided to let everybody know a few weeks ago that he was going to be working with an actor who is
talking about himself?
Who is a genius, who he's never worked with before, who is just so good. And then, of course, the big reveal is that he's going to be acting across from himself. I was just like, dude, that is it. That's amazing. Like,
epic. That's an easy clap troll from Paul Bettany. The person that he wanted to work with was himself, his own vision.
So good, yeah. I had another point with Vision. And the missing person. So, I think because the missing person case does come from Hayward, we still don't know who it is. It doesn't appear that Agatha did that, right? Because she's like coming into this scenario, and ultimately we don't know that the missing person relates to anything really, because like this was just a unfortunate circumstance that Wanda did at this very exact location. But man, like, I don't know, something just feels off because the basement was there, right? Like she had this whole basement that is just overrun with like these roots and this power source or something just. And then of course Hayward being the one that directed her to go there in the first place. Directed her to go. I'm sorry, not directed her, but directed Monica to go there. And then this like mysterious letter from Vision, which is probably just from Vision, was there. I don't know. Something just feels off with it.
One person we also haven't seen, by the way, is Ralph, Agatha's husband.
Yeah.
And that's why I still think there's a possibility of a Mephisto or a Chthon or a Nightmare, because we still haven't seen that character yet. And when the magic show is happening, she's like, do you want my husband Ralph to come help? And we know that she's manipulating this whole thing after it was revealed that it was Agatha pulling the strings behind the scenes. So that makes that comment even more interesting, Hacks. The fact that she was like, hey, my husband can help. You know what I mean? I don't think that husband is actually her husband.
I feel like she wouldn't have a husband, right? Like, I feel like, I don't know. Not to say that she would never feel like intimacy with another human, but like, I just feel like it's not in her character to ever want to settle down, to ever label yourself as being married to somebody else, or, I don't know. It just feels weird. Like she might not have a husband. That might just be a whole bit to make us believe or to make us theory craft about Ralph, right? Like,
and she can transmute things, and she always has that rabbit around. So it's possible that someone is transmuted into that bunny we see. Yeah,
I feel like there are a lot of theories around that being Ralph, or that being Nicholas Scratch, her son. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, I don't know. I think that again, and that might be another one where it's
who died in the comics, by the way, and she had to like find a specific scenario to bring him back to life, which could be something. I mean, that could be what we're seeing here. I mean, she could be just working with her son, and Agatha being the big bad would be cool. But,
and the other thing is that like all of her magic like relates to animals, like the dog, the bunny, the cicada, the bird. Like it just seems like there's so much animal related things happening with her specific magic.
You're just nature in general, vines, flowers.
Yeah. And so I think that there might be a case where, similar to Mordo at the end of Doctor Strange, where he's like, hey, there's too many sorcerers, right? Like we need to start axing some sorcerers here. She might be good simply because she might believe that she is acting for the best interests of reality by eliminating these witches and warlocks or whatever that ultimately aren't practicing natural magic.
Her being aligned with Mordo would be very interesting because that is Doctor Strange's main antagonist from the comics, and he didn't make his full switch to antagonist in Doctor Strange #1. Right?
No,
there were some disagreements on kind of how things were going because we saw what happened with the Ancient One. But that is super interesting, Hacks.
Yeah.
The fact that you mentioned Baron Mordo, because he's going to be in Doctor Strange 2 as well.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. I mean, like, I don't know. At the same time, it does feel like maybe we're reaching. It does feel like Agatha, for a majority of what she's done, is like this lone wolf. But still, it doesn't mean that their interests couldn't theoretically align, either as like a manifestation of them actually partnering up, or just both of them wanting to preserve the natural magic. But at the same time, like, I feel like Agatha has to be empathetic to Wanda's situation, where, you know, she wanted to practice the magic that at the time they told her was unnatural, and now she is, you know, possibly reaching out to Cthulhu to change reality, right?
Yeah, there's still a scenario where we're seeing some mentoring, and we see another twist. You know what I mean? Where Agatha is trying to get Wanda to move on from all of this, but it just feels like Wanda's been antagonized. You know, there's all of these other variables that have affected Wanda for it to feel like a situation like that. Yeah. We got another donation, by the way. Hey. Boston, thank you very much. Not letting this go. Where and how does Pietro, which was actually said out loud by Agatha, which I thought was hilarious, have super speed? You cannot just have powers to fool someone. There's more there. One thing I didn't mention about the Darkhold, the Wundagore Mountain, and Pietro and Wanda living there in the comics, being from Transia and Wundagore Mountain, having a cavern with it literally named the Darkhold, is within that story in the comics. There's another part of that where Chthon actually manipulates someone who is part of the Mystic Arts crew with Doctor Strange. His name is Mordred. And he manipulated him, and Mordred becomes manipulated by dark magic. And what happens is he lures Quicksilver to that cave, and Chthon possesses Quicksilver. That's one interesting part of the comics that they could be adapting within the MCU. I think that that's probably a little bit complicated since we're not in Sokovia and all of that. And now we're seeing, obviously, Agatha controlling Quicksilver and all of that. So I don't think it's as complicated as we think, but it is interesting that he shows up right when Monica is kind of, you know, sleuthing things and figuring out more answers to what's going on in Westview.
Yeah, so my take is that Agatha describes what she's done as a crystalline possession, I forget. But ultimately, the point being that it's not necromancy, which she explicitly says that would be, you know, resurrecting her brother. So we know it's a different body, right? The only reason that it should look like Evan Peters is if the show was just messing with us and they genuinely wanted us to theory craft about this for no reason and just, you know, be a meta troll breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. Or if that is Evan Peters Quicksilver, right? Because, man, like, it does have super speed. It does have the ability to do things in that realm that Wanda doesn't explicitly want that to happen. You know, so it's the eyes and ears of Agatha, but the power that he has is never addressed, and I take that as real power, right? Like, it is this thing that is happening. We are seeing it. It's not some amalgamation or making Wanda believe that it's happening. It's happening. So how? I think that what ultimately happened is that she pulled the Quicksilver either from a different reality or a different location. And yeah, like, that's the reason that it appears as Evan Peters. Either that or, man,
it was from another multiverse by Professor Xavier. Yeah. It seems like there's too many holes in that. You know what I mean? Like, that's doing too much, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, so it's either multiverse and this is Quicksilver from X-Men Dimension, or the showrunners genuinely just were messing with us. Like,
but Boston also says Pietro, Fox Pietro. F stands for Fox Pietro, which is true.
Wait, that's genius. Yeah, that's good. Oh my gosh,
Fake Pietro.
Yeah, Pietro, when she was like, Pietro or fake Pietro or Pietro, if you will, I lost it, dude. I was like, how have we never made that joke? Like, that's so funny, dude.
I just think it's part of the show. You know what I mean? Because Agatha reveals herself as the director in the Coliseum right before she snaps her fingers and she's controlling Billy and Tommy with her,
So you think that the showrunners just put Evan Peters there to mess with us?
I'm not sure, man, because
I think it has to be multiverse. Like, otherwise, we have to acknowledge.
I think that Agatha's working for someone that's pulling other powers and people from other multiverses. I think that's, a distinct possibility here. I think that she's trying to literally summon someone within this hex. Why exactly is she so interested in, what specifically is she trying to figure out about Wanda? Because she's trying to get whatever that is, that piece of information. She's trying to figure out how she can either use that magic for herself or figure out how she can get Wanda to use her magic to get something for herself. Like, it's one of those two situations, right? Like she needs Wanda for something.
Possibly, but she could also just be the arbiter that's like, hey, like, damn, Wanda, like, hey, I'm here because you like kind of nuked the world. What's going on? And then she realizes it, and she realizes she's not some massive threat with weapons of mass destruction. She's a baby witch, as she described, and she just happens to be firing nukes. I think
chaos magic. Yeah,
I think she's like genuinely coming from a point of concern and investigation, but she could also want that magic, right? Like, she could just like be there to figure out how Wanda did it so that she could do it herself. Like, she's shown this like pursuit of knowledge above her grade. I think this is now again knowledge above her grade, and she could be there specifically to get that knowledge and to do it herself.
Well, I mean, they're showing Wanda as not being able to control her powers, and we know that Agatha's had hundreds of years to hone her abilities. So,
there's like that envy too, because it's like, it feels like frustration. It feels like Agatha's like, damn, like how are you doing this? Like it doesn't make sense.
The way she says it, Hax, is like, this is chaos magic, Wanda. Like, it was like a scorn.
Yeah. And even like when they're in the basement and she like grabs the bird, she's like, I've done this my whole life. Like, this is simple necromancy. This is simple, transmutation. But like, what you're doing just, it doesn't make sense, and it feels like envy turned to hate and spitefulness and venom. Like, ugh, dude. Yeah.
All emotions that are used by big bads like Nightmare and Mephisto and Chthon. So I'm still on that horse race, my man. I'm not jumping off these theories yet. The finale is going to be crazy, right? Like, something is going to happen. It's just going to be insane, and it's going to be. We could still, maybe we don't see the big bad until the after credit scene, and we see someone kind of manipulating the things even behind the scenes from what Beyond Weave saw. One thing I do want to note before we move on, thanks everyone for joining us in chat. I just want to do some shout outs. Clarissa Thompson, Maud Mary, Tinkerbell, Boston. I also see some new people that have been showing up to the Marvel podcast. The Mighty Mecha, Kai the Kunoichi, has come back. We've also, Comic Book Steals and Deals is in the chat. Just a bunch of really awesome people. I see Liz Kopich, our mod team, Fairy Doom, I also see in there. Just a bunch of awesome people. We want to thank you guys for joining us. This is something that we're going to be continuing. As you can see, we're clearly passionate about Marvel Comics and the MCU and where it's headed. It's just been so awesome. And by the way, everyone, if you do enjoy what you're seeing, hit that like button, subscribe. You can find all of the links to Hax's channel where he's creating amazing Wandavision content in the link in the description of the video. So if you want us to talk about specific theories in the podcast, want to reach out to us, or you want to check out more content, links are in the description of the video right there for all of you guys to access.
Heck yeah.
And we need one more person, by the way. One more person hits that join button, and we get access to another emoji. So far, we've got 4 Marvel ones, by the way, everyone. So if one more person hits that join button, I put a Loki helm. We added a new emoji for Loki. We can add another one, and you guys can pick. So yeah, hell yeah.
Heck yeah. Also, in terms of her power, like her reason for being there, being the power that Wanda has. It's a titled thing, right? The Scarlet Witch. Like, of course, we discussed earlier how she
the
has
Scarlet Witch, like the one singular.
Yeah, and if you recall the fight scene with her mom, right? The final thing that she does is create this like crown above her head, and I wonder if there's like this like link between, this like big moment of these like characters, or like these like, it feels like the Sorcerer Supreme kind of thing with Doctor Strange, where it's like, it's these titled things that are leaders of these fields of magic, as such. So I think like that could be how she, figured out what a Scarlet Witch was. Like, it was theoretical.
Like her mom was royalty, like a royal witch. It seemed like they were hinting at that, right?
Yeah. Or like this, like, because like Wanda's garb, like what she sees her future self is like wearing the M, right? So it's like kind of a, or her like helmet, which could be interpreted as like a crown. So I think ultimately that's what it is. Like, I don't know,
specific crowns for specific witches. It's interesting that Agatha doesn't have a crown though for her purple magic. Who has the crown for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's ultimately why, right? Like she's there to pursue exactly that, like that higher form of magic or whatever it was.
And we got that 10th joiner, by the way, Boston.
Hey,
hell yeah. You know what, Boston, since you're the 10th person that joined and people that are here in chat, you guys can pick out the next emoji we're going to get in chat. Let's do something Marvel. You guys can pick whatever you guys want. You guys can decide amongst yourselves, and I will make sure it happens. But yeah, that's a really interesting comment, Hacks. Like, I don't like, it feels like we're going to learn more about it for sure. Probably more in Multiverse of Madness, I'm thinking, because the chances are everything that we're talking about is not going to be tied up in the finale, which is kind of a shame,
Yeah, there's just so much. And like, I don't fault the show for that at all. I'm glad that because this is the sort of phase 4, there needs to be so many unanswered questions going into the future of the show, or the series. And so in that sense, I'm not expecting everything to be wrapped up. I'm expecting a very good wrap up of the major plot points. What Hayward's doing, whether that becomes like the new Ultron, Iron Legion, shield around the world, masked by humans, call of Sentinels, something like that. Like that could end in that way, and I would be fine. But it feels like we need a good ending to his story. It feels like we need. I don't even know, because like a lot of these, right? Like we don't need that good of an ending. Like we don't need Agatha to die. We don't even need Hayward to die. We don't need anyone to die. Like all of this feels like it could just be setting up the future of the MCU.
Like they have a crazy opportunity to bring Vision back if they wanted, man, and do all.
I hope they do.
There is so many comic storylines. Like if the essence of Vision that was created from Wanda herself and her magic and parts of the Mind Stone, because part of the Mind Stone is within Wanda. She was literally touched the cosmos, part of the cosmos, part of this started the Big Bang, this cosmic background radiation that permeates the universe. That is within her. That's what makes part of her so special. I think that they could, man. Oh my God. I don't. It would feel like I feel like they're going to conclude Vision's story, because it's like they're going to go with something tragic, I think. But imagine Paul Bettany. Like we argue that Elizabeth Olsen needs Emmys. I say we riot, by the way, if she doesn't get nominated. Okay. Absolutely insane performance. But Paul Bettany is criminally underrated, dude. And he's been with the Marvel Cinematic Universe for like over 3 decades here. He's Tony? Would it be Robert Downey Jr. was the other one that was left?
Yeah. We talked about this before. The person we left off the list was Romanoff. Mm-hmm. She was in Iron Man 1. Yeah. She's been there from the very beginning too.
She's going to be in Black Widow, and that's going to be her last movie, I'm thinking. So yeah.
I would love to see more Paul Bettany. And I don't care which form it takes. I don't care if it's Vision or the good guys lose, and the Sentinels are now a fixture of the world. Like I genuinely could see a route in which Wanda loses, and Wanda is this murderer and this bad guy, and created from the wickedness of Hayward and this plot that he ultimately had from the very beginning to shape this narrative that, superpowered individuals are bad individuals. Like, I could see him win and it still be such a good conclusion because it now sets up this idea that Sentinels are in the world and Ultron 2.0 is in the world. Something created by humans, protecting humans, powered by science and, well, I guess magic now, but and it just, I think it would be. I think there's a lot of ways that they could end this in a good way, and I can't think of a single way that. Well, I mean, maybe if they just like don't air the next episode, that's the only thing they could do.
I put a little poll in chat, Hacks. I'm going to ask you this question too.
Oh yeah.
Who wants Visions to merge in the finale? I put 1 for that, or 2 for finishing his arc and for him dying. There's some. I mean, it's mostly 1s, but I don't know. I think it's. I think both options would be satisfying. I don't think I'm going to be unsatisfied with either option. And I think that they both really open up interesting story options. Like, not that I want Wanda to suffer anymore, because I think that her having to go through that again is just absolute torture. But I mean, if she's going to get taken under Doctor Strange's wing, which is a strong possibility, then I would feel less bad about it, I guess. I don't know, man.
Honestly, I think he has to die. I think that he has to die.
I think so too. Because it's either Vision or Billy and Tommy. I think. Because I think they all die. Maybe that would be even.
I want them to all die.
Oh my god!
I want them all dead. Because here's the thing: if her version of Vision lives, then again we still hit that point of how could he ever know if what he is genuine to what he is, or if it was just the creation of Wanda, always programmed to love Wanda. It's Westworld all over. And so in that sense, like. And a part of acknowledging her truth, which has been this thing that keeps coming up and defining what your truth is, her truth is that Vision is gone. Her brother is gone. She has this trauma. She needs to understand it. Vision in the form that, would be intimate to her needs to not exist because it is still not her acknowledging her truth. And I think that is ultimately a very important message that if Disney's doing that, is a great thing. And I think they are, because we've gotten 3 times now where it's, acknowledging your truth. And the other thing, I think Paul Bettany could still exist in the form of the Sentinels, or White Visions, whatever they're going to be called. I still hope they're called Sentinels. But ultimately so I'm happy that Paul Bettany probably going to keep going, but equally
What if Jess is onto something here, Hacks? Fietro said, your dead husband can't die twice again. Can't die twice. So Hex Vision might not be alive or might not be able to die. That is certainly an interesting scenario, considering we're having 2 different versions of Vision. I think that they're going to fight and cancel each other out, I guess. But it's certainly going to be interesting to see the conclusion of that. Vision is ultra powerful. The Hayward's Vision has to be stopped, I think, because that is not Vision.
Yeah, but there's also this aspect of what did they create? What powers is it going to have? Is it going to be more like Tony Stark and have just very missiles and guns and be something that is like a real science could one day explain or create? So is it going to be similar to that? And I guess Ultron as well, because he could never merge through walls or anything like that. So, what powers is he going to have? And compared to what we've seen, Vision do, again, he had super speed out of nowhere. He just had super speed. Is it going to be a fight at all?
One of the main themes of the show has been family.
Yeah.
What if we see Magneto show up? Because he would crush that new Vision easily.
Yeah,
the new Vision would be able to do jack shit against Magneto. And I saw Helen getting horny earlier in chat for Michael Fassbender. She says, Fassy can do anything to me. By the way, that's one of my best friends, Helen, by the way, chat. Get used to it. But there were some people talking about, I guess I'll mention it, but some people saying that the leaks are true, that Magneto is going to show up in the finale. It looked like Daniel Craig was playing him, but I think that's I don't know if that's real or not. I think it would be crazy to get another Magneto going forward, but it would make sense. Marvel Phase 4, you know what I mean? They recast people all the time, Spider-Man, all of that.
Yeah, honestly, and if it is,
I don't know. That would be crazy. Like Magneto could offer her family, right? Like that is a pretty big deal, I think.
that is an interesting take. Yeah, I think it's very possible. Those leaks have been out for a little bit now.
Yeah. I don't know if I believe them. I think it's more. I think Doctor Strange will be the person to show up, but still,
I really want it to be Doctor Strange. Yeah, because it like Magneto would be cool, and it could also relate to how Quicksilver is the Fox Quicksilver. So in that sense, yeah, it would make sense. Like his son goes missing. His son is pulled into this other reality or realm or something like that, and ultimately he's
nuts.
Yeah, he's the dad coming in to save it. Like that'd be pretty wild.
That would be 11-10 if that happens in the finale. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Yeah. If Michael Fassbender or Ian McKellen's Magneto, oh my God, either one of them would be crazy. Or even a new Magneto is probably my favorite. I don't want to say villain because I see him more as an anti-hero, but he's one of my top 5 favorite characters in the Marvel.
So good, very complex. Like genuinely wants the best for his kind, but then also sees that humanity will never stop attacking them. Like it'll always be an issue until he has to stop it. And ultimately that leads him to this realization that he needs to act out and take down humanity first, which ultimately a misled understanding of what needs to happen. But he does what he does because he thinks it's best.
The Fox X-Men franchise wasn't my favorite per se. I really enjoyed the first 2. I wasn't a huge fan of the last one, but I mean, I don't know. I really like where they took his storyline. The persecution of mutants and all that element in the background, and oh man, just holy crap, that was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so for the last portion of the podcast here, we're going to go for another 15 minutes. We're going to open up to comments and questions. We'll try to get to as many as possible. Of course, we can't get to every awesome comment and question, but we like to feature as many as possible. So go nuts, guys. I think we got to most of what we wanted to talk about with the episode anyways, but we like to keep it open for you guys. Any theories, any comments, anything you guys want us to talk about? Yeah, let's open it up. Let's celebrate, man. We only got one episode of WandaVision left. It's kind of sad, man.
It really is. Like I've been putting off working on my video because it's just like this is the end. This is where it is. This is whether the theories are wrong or right. This is like the last little bit of theory crafting we'll be able to do. But I mean, ultimately, like because there is so much that's probably going to be left open for interpretation, I think it'd be cool to keep revisiting this in the future. Like it feels like there's a lot that we can still explore in terms of Dormammu, in terms of schools of magic, and even the Accords. Like there's so much vagueness around what the Accords actually detail, and I think that exploring that further would be magnificent. Like I think there's a lot to cover.
I'm like you, man. I don't necessarily care if I'm right or wrong on theories. Like I don't care about like the people that'll trash you for like, oh, you're wrong, you're stupid. I don't care about that. It's more about the discussion. Like my favorite thing, and I go back to I started YouTube as a Game of Thrones creator. Everybody knows that. The artist formerly known as Zora Hype, now we're Fandom Media, where all fandoms come have fun. But the thing that was my personal favorite thing about talking about Game of Thrones is that every Sunday night after the episode, you could go live and talk about it, and then the next day, you could create a video about it. The next day, you could create a video about it. You can create this amazing conversation about it. And we've never had this opportunity, Hacks, to do this with Marvel. Now we have TV shows. And I feel like this is the fucking final form of Marvel, man. Like this last week was, in my opinion, one of the top 10 things that Marvel's ever produced.
Oh yeah.
This episode.
Yeah. And I have such high hopes for the finale that I think next week is definitely going to top it. I feel like I think Paul Bettany said this, but I think he said that there was more CGI in this final episode than like all of Endgame, or some exaggeration like that probably, but just some colossal amount of work put into it. So
that's why I think we're getting Chthon and Mephisto, like some like summoning of like a Lovecraftian cosmic dark god, like that would be fucking sick.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, you saw what happened in Doctor Strange, like this, like the dark dimension actually being triggered, actually, you know, being traversable. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so good. It's just such a great movie. And I hope it relates to this just because it would help, you know, further the plot of magic and further the plot of, you know, what Doctor Strange is doing and how he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme and just, so good.
By the way, the Mighty Mecha has brought this up a few times, and really glad. Mighty Mecha, you have so many awesome comments, by the way. Thanks for chilling with us on Sundays. Yeah. Hacks rocking with you. Hope it's Victor Von Doom as the aerospace engineer. I think that we're going to get some people are speculating Blue Marvel, and that's the role that John Boyega is going to be playing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, really?
Also Tiana Paris's love interest in the comics, Monica Rambeau. That would be crazy. That would be a big, like if that, because John Boyega was in talks. Like man, I loved his character of Finn, and they kind of fell flat with that. So for him to get another opportunity, a huge gig like this in Blue Marvel. Oh hell yeah! I
would ship them so much. I'm shipping them right now, dude. 100%. So good.
But what are your thoughts on the aerospace engineer? Some people think it's Reed Richards. Some people said Hank McCoy. I think the most likely option is Reed Richards. But Victor Von Doom would also make sense. He's rich. He has interest in information of what's kind of going on with this kind of thing. We know Fantastic Four is going to be a Marvel Phase 4. It's going to be they're rebooting it. It could be really interesting. Some people have said, you know, it's going to be Victor Von Doom. That would be a kind of nice little interesting twist, considering he becomes a major villain.
My hope is that if Magneto comes into this, then it will be Dr. Von Doom. You know, just because it's like this giant pinnacle moment, and I talked about this in a video where it's just like, wow, all of these things are coming together. Phase 4 is starting off with this great reminder that all of these things are real, that, you know, all of these things are now a part of the MCU and could theoretically be stories that we know. Yes, and just seeing Doom at the end of this, similar to seeing Magneto at the end of this, would just be like that great reminder, and ultimately like the ominous, the ominous little shadow of like, oh, what is he going to do? Like, his intentions seem good right now, but of course they don't get so good later on. And like we talked about before, like seeing him before seeing the Fantastic Four, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. His character, great character across all the movies, I think one of the Dr. Dooms I didn't like, but, you know, just far superior than trying to make the Elastic Man work, So.
By the way, speaking of theories, got an announcement for you guys. We got a special episode of the Marvel podcast happening on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about theories and predictions for the Wandavision finale. We're going to have Sean Tanktop, a special guest from the Burlington Bar, and also Sam Coleman, who played young Hodor in Game of Thrones. He is a huge WandaVision fan. Me Hacks, the boys, me Hacks, Sean, and Sam Coleman, young Hodor. Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our last shot to make any predictions, theories, get hype.
Oh, yeah.
Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
All theories.
See what I did there? Absolutely fantastic after we talked about Victor Von Doom.
Yeah, I think the aerospace engineer as well, it may not be anybody. It may just be Goodner. Like, again, this is a point that probably doesn't need to be more than it is. Like, they've shown who they're talking about and who she was supposed to meet.
She could be a Skrull, which would make it more interesting.
Yes. I think there's still... dude, there's honestly so much that makes me think like, ooh, this is like a reference to space or Skrulls or the Kree or, you know, something like that. And there's also so many references to dreaming, like dreams and nightmares. And like
whoa,
the walnut.
We just did it.
Yeah.
Fusion.
And this idea of like, I don't know how I would feel if Wanda wakes up and it's all a dream, but I think it could work for a few different reasons. But like,
I think people would be pissed.
And it would
blow people's minds, though.
Yeah, simply because like this episode showed that Wanda did what she did. The only way you can make Wanda not the villain here is that she was manipulated to do this. And we know that she wasn't. We know that she went there, she lost control of her magic, and she created this thing. The only way they can make her not explicitly the villain for controlling these people's lives is if they put the blame on Hayward, who ultimately may have triggered that event to get her there in the first place, to have that emotional effect. Because they knew, because they had this fear. In Civil War, she was locked down to the Stark compound, facility, for her own safety and for the safety of the people around her. They feared her. Vision even, tried to make her realize, hey, people don't fear you. Oh man, what does he say? He's like, people don't fear you for, but basically that they just don't know her. He wanted them to see what he saw in her, but they probably never would. It's just
relationship's so genuine because he takes the time to really get to know her.
Yeah.
Which makes everything even more fucking heartbreaking, man.
Now she has no one. Yeah, where are the Avengers? Where's anybody? They're like, yeah, we're a family. We're
where's Hawkeye, man? I feel like he's the closest of the bunch that's left with them. You know what I mean? Steve was pretty empathetic to Wanda. He was, you know what I mean? Steve went through a lot. He went through quite a few times. He lost the love of his life in a similar way, So I think that, there's still possibilities that characters like Hawkeye show up. But which could tie into the show that we're going to be getting in the fall, by the way. But the options are juicy, dude. Holy jeez, man. It's literally unlimited options that they can do with the and that's just so crazy about the Marvel Comics and Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's literally limitless, there's 80 plus years of comics that they can pull from. The source material that's just pure gold, dude. And I'm just so hyped.
Yeah. Pure gold. Great way to describe it. Yeah. Good case for scrolls, good case for dreams, good case for nightmare manipulation and the consumption
which
of power.
Which option are you rooting for the most? I'm so curious.
I'm rooting for neither of those. I would like Wanda to be redeemed. I would like Hayward to have manipulated her to that location and ultimately be the trigger. I think that would be, in one of the comments, I think Maud Mary said, that she wouldn't be blamed as the victim because of the grief and depression. But man, if this superhero came and my wife was under the spell, against her will, we know that they're conscious. We know that, they're trying to get out. They've made subtle remarks about the agency loss over their bodies and being unable to leave small towns, and the woman crying when she's putting up the thing over and over and over again. Man, I would from the perspective of someone who was affected by that thing, I would not view Wanda as anything other than true villainy and something that should not exist in the world because she doesn't know how to control it. She doesn't know how to not hurt my family, right? And in that sense, I understand humans justifiably would view her as the villain, even if she was sad. Damn, you're saying that, oh, I was sad, so it's not an issue. Damn, dude, everybody's sad. Everybody lost. Everybody, like Rocket says, everybody loses people, man, seeing Rocket at the end of this, ooh, that'd be so cool.
Man, we want everything. Marvel, give us what we want.
So ultimately, I think there is still something that means, for whatever reason, that Wanda is not totally on the hook for what she's done. And that is what I want to see, because otherwise she is just genuinely the villain. There's no way around it at this point.
Prediction. Let's start wrapping it up here. By the way, everyone, we reached our goal of 10 people to join here on the channel. I'm going to make the goal to try to get to 20 by the end of March. Let's double it. Let's try to get to that. There's so many awesome comments and questions. Like me and Hack said, leave them in the comment section. We'll try to address as many as we can in the special episode on Thursday. We're going to have an amazing panel. Myself, Hacks, Sam Coleman, Young Hodor, and Sean Tanktop, who makes awesome Wandavision videos as well. Hacks, one thing that you're looking forward to the most for the finale. What's really got your interest, man? What are you looking forward to?
Face Off, Vision v Vision, Agatha, decapitating those children. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
No.
Wait, no, I got the wrong one.
I understand that if any more cunt mouth.
Yeah. Hayward's plan.
Chicken in this room.
Hayward's plan being realized. To the full extent of it. Vision v Vision, and ultimately Wanda realizing her truth. I think that is something that keeps coming up, and that's what she needs to do. She needs to understand her pain and what's happened to her. Not mask it behind this dream of American life with the person that she created that loves her. And
I'm really interested to see what the body count's going to be in the finale. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, who's going to survive and who isn't? You know what I mean? Because I feel like someone's got to die. Someone's got to die in the finale. You know what I mean? After all of this, I feel like there's got to be some sort of sacrifice to the Marvel gods for this crazy.
Yeah, who would it be? Who would die?
I don't know, man. I would. It would be a shame. Catherine Hahn is so good as Agatha.
Good. Yeah,
like she might get nominated too.
Honestly, I hope they could kill her. They could kill her if they give us a spinoff of the Ancient One and Agatha in the early days, centuries ago. I'm like, again,
summon that from the fucking deep of the dark realm for me, please.
Yeah, I like it's headcanon at this point. I feel like they had to have worked together or crossed paths at some point, and I'll write it myself. I don't care. Like I will make it happen. That is that must have happened. Like. But yeah.
Hacks Dogma, Chris, showrunner, Agatha, and the Witches of Marvel.
Yeah,
Agatha and the Ancient One. Man,
it's just it's a buddy cop dramedy. Yeah.
Oh, chat! It's been so much fun, and this is going to be the end of the podcast here. Don't be sad though. Hacks, your breakdown is coming soon in the next couple of days. You said.
Yes, eventually, before the end of days.
So you can go check out Hacks Dogma at Hacks Dogma on YouTube. Go subscribe. Link is in the description of the video. Also Hacks Dogma on Twitter if you want to go follow him there. For me, I'm going to be creating 3 videos this week. One on Agatha's mom, one on Agatha herself, and just some finale predictions. And then Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sam Coleman, Young Hodor from Game of Thrones, Hacks Dogma, Fandom Media, Sean Tangtop from the Burlington Bar. All 4 of us are going to get together and at 4 p.m., just talk about the WandaVision finale. It's going to be our last chance to really theory craft and predict anything. And then WandaVision will be done next week. We can wrap up and recap and review everything that happened. But it's so fun to speculate and theory craft and interact with all the awesome questions and comments from you guys. So, hell yeah. I still think there's a possibility that's Mephisto. I still think Agatha's working with someone. She's working with someone, guys. I'm telling you right now, it's got to happen.
I was watching I think New Rockstars had like this panel that they were talking to a few different content creators, and one of them was like, honestly, I think Agatha might just be like by herself, like it's just like this powerful woman who pursues this thing for not for the agency of anybody else, but for her own interest, and it was kind of laughed at, right? Like it was kind of just like, oh no, it's definitely relates to Mephisto or Nightmare or something like that. Yeah, and ultimately, like it could be that. It could just be her, but I would like to see a bigger bad. I would like to relieve Agatha of her villainy in the sense that it's like serving a bigger purpose. Whether that is for the good guys or bad guys, I don't know, but yeah.
Or it was. Thanks for joining, everyone. It's been the Marvel Podcast. You can find the playlist on my channel, all organized neatly for you, all 6 episodes of the Marvel Podcast. Feel free to binge if you'd like. Me and Hacks are looking super forward to the next episode. Thanks, everyone, again for joining us. All the links in the description. All the links are in the description of the video. We're looking forward to seeing you on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a marvelous